And it's recording. All right, here we go. So today's lesson, 1E, 1F. We are looking at negative numbers. So E specifically is only this first half of the page. This is how it works. Let's have a look. In primary school, you started learning in mathematics, we learned to count first. Those are called natural numbers. I'm going to write up here. Natural numbers. In year 12, we have a symbol. It's like a double line N, okay? And it's called natural numbers. What it just basically means is counting numbers. The whole numbers, no decimals, no fractions, positive numbers only. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 are called natural numbers. That's primary school. Then you go into year 7, you then start working in the opposite direction. So you moved forward, we called that the positive direction. Then in year 7, we started introducing the idea, well, if you can go to the right 2 steps, surely you can go the opposite direction 2 steps. So we called that the negative, which means opposite direction of whatever this direction is. So you go on negative versus positive. Exercise 1E just tests is, do you know how to work with the number line? So let's have a look. Starting off with negative 3. Let's draw that out in the number line. So here we go. Here's a mini number line. 0 is in the center. Is negative 3 on the left of that 0 or is it on the right side of that 0? Yes, Aman. On the left. Very good. So on the left because on the negative side. So I'm starting negative 3. I draw a dot. So I'm going to put a dot up here so you can see. There we go. Negative 3 is here. Then we'll say plus. Now remember, plus means you're adding on. So if you're adding on something, it should get larger, right? So if you had $2 and I added on $3, you should have more money, not less money. So by adding, I should be going in the positive direction. So adding should mean go to the right. So I'm going to move this dot where I said here, negative 3. I'm going to move it to the right. But by how many units? How many units am I moving to the right? Let's go with Oliver. 2, because it says 2 there. So I'm saying go to the right by 2. So in this position, I'm going to go 1. That's 1 step. I'm at negative 2. And then I do another step. I'm now at negative 1. Now, notice the way I'm laying it out. As you're writing my notes down, notice I didn't write equal signs over here. I wrote it down because that's the vertical layout I want you to practice. At year 7, 8, most students can get through this without proper layout. That's why they write horizontally. Don't do horizontal. Start practicing vertical because as the problems get harder, the vertical layout is how we do it in mathematics. Especially when you get to year 12 where we take up potentially a full page of calculations. Horizontal doesn't do it. Vertical is the way to do it. And that's why coding goes vertical. Doesn't go horizontal, goes vertical. Okay, there's a reason for it. So I want you to practice even as small as this one. I actually want you to write equals and then write the answer. So where am I landed? From negative 3 moving 2 to the right, I land at negative 1. So the answer is at negative 1. So I now am at negative 1. So remember your layout in your exercise book when you do this later. Rule down half or fold your sheet into half. Work vertically down. I want a problem. So don't just write 1A, negative 1. I don't want to see that. Okay, this means nothing to me. It also means nothing to you in the next 6 months. See, next 6 months when you revise and I say, where'd the negative 1 come from? You're like, I have no idea. But if you had this layout, you see you have a problem, you have the method, then you have the answer. So here's problem or question, method, answer. 6 months later, you can still tell me how you got negative 1. That's the difference between the top year 12 students. When they write their notes, they're clear. That's why when they revise for their SACs and exams, why they do well. Versus the kids who are smart intelligently, just genetically, and they just write down the answers, 6 months later, why don't they do well compared to the other students? Because they don't know. They're winging it. When we ask them to revise, they don't know how to revise well, and they've done that for the last 12 years. So you guys right now in year 8, you have at least 4 to 5 years to improve on your studying habits, revising habits, and it starts off with a layout in mathematics. So some of you might be relying on intelligence. Most of you who do well generally have good layout. I promise you, every top student in my year 12 class right now, I just pick up their exercise book and I know who's going to make it to the end of the year and do really well, and who's just going to wing it because they're weak, or who's going to wing it because they're very intelligent. But the top students have always been the ones with a good layout. That's without fail. Okay? So If you want to get better at it over the next years, that's what you want to train. Yeah. Yes, please. Write these down. So on the sheet. Do you have the sheet? Oh. Did I give it to you? Where's the... Good. Anyone who didn't get a sheet? No. Sorry. I missed you two. You grab one each. Sorry. Okay, let's do the next problem. So, -1 minus 3. Now, same idea. You can use the number line on your sheet, or you can draw a new one. So, here we go. -1. So, draw a mini number line. 0's in the center. Is -1 on the left or on the right of 0? Let's go with Zave. It's -1 on the left, or is it on the right of 0? Left. Very good. So, we write down -1. Here we go. We start here. Then we ask, well, what's this operation? That's a minus. Minus moves smaller. So if it goes smaller, which direction am I going, Luke? Left or right? If I'm subtracting, will I go more to the left or would I move more to the right? Left, because you're getting smaller. The more you go to the left, it gets smaller and smaller. When you add, it goes to the right, it gets bigger. So it should be this direction. That's minus. So this means goes to the left. By how many units do I go to the left, William? 3. It says there. It says you're starting at -1. Cool, we've got the spot. And I'm moving to the left, and William said it's 3. So we count it. We go, all right, -1, 2, 3. So that becomes -2, -3, and then -4. For those who are a bit more savvy, at this point, hopefully you realized you started at 1 on the left side, but you're adding 3 more to the left. So why don't you just do 1 plus 3, and you get 4. It's just easier rather than doing the hops. You could have just said 1 plus 3 is 4, but you already know it's in the negative direction, so that's why the answer has to be -4. But if you're not there yet, that's okay. But that's what I'm saying. That's how you make it faster, because you know you're going to the negative direction. The answer has to be negative. You just need to count them. So 1 plus 3 gives you 4, so you know it's a -4. So that's one way of doing it. Yeah? Or you can do the hops. Doesn't matter which way. But problem, method, answer. 6 months later, you can still revise this. Next one, C. -1 plus 4. Let's have a go with this one. -1, same thing again. I'm going to draw a number line. We already know it's on the left side, so -1. Here's my dot. Plussing. Which direction am I going, Losalia? Am I moving to the right or am I moving to the left? To the right. But how did you know that? Beautiful. So the adding there tells you what you're doing to it. Are you getting more or are you getting less of the amount? Adding means you're getting more. So that's why you're moving to the right. How much more? You're getting 4 more. So starting from -1, you're going 4 more in this direction. Now, a lot of students find this tricky because you're going from the negative side and you're entering into the right side. So it's harder to count. But this is go. You can go 1 step, so you're back at 0. 2 steps, you're now at 1. 3 steps, you're at 2. And then 4 steps, you're meant to end up at +3. But what's interesting is, and this is what I was teaching the other class and the other kids start to pick up very quickly. You see, you can draw it out as a hopping situation, but another way to think about it as well. Have you noticed? The signs actually attach to the value. The negative tells you the position of where the 1 is, so it's on the -1. But that plus sign also, technically, is telling you that this 4 units is positive. What students don't realize is when I write -1 plus 4, that is actually the same thing as actually saying +4 take away 1. See, 4 take away 1, if I ask most students, most of you would be able to answer that pretty quickly. Most of you would say, yeah, 4 take away 1 is 3. But interestingly enough, when I put it on a test and I say -1 plus 4, some of you can draw the diagram and do it. And this is what I usually put on a test. So something like this. If I did -11 plus 30, some students will quit. They'll look at that and go, nah, don't know. But if I wrote it like this, had I wrote on the test, I wrote 30 minus 11, do you know how many students would actually answer that question? It'd be like 99% of you would give it a go because you feel confident. But I give you this. You find that harder. And it's just something about rearranging the numbers. So this is a +30. That's also a +30. This is a -11, and this is a -11. All I did was I swapped the order. So if you quickly have a look at this one, -4 plus 5 may seem a bit hard if you're trying to think of the number line, but if you actually swap the numbers around, what do you actually get? 5 minus 4. Positive 5, and you're minusing 4, and that's a lot easier to think about than -4 plus 5. 5 minus 4, which most of us know, $5 minus $4, you get $1. So that's positive 1. Yeah? So this here, this is exercise 1E. If you're feeling this is pretty easy, that is what 1E is. At a bare minimum, you're working with a number line. At a bare minimum, you know the positions of the negative numbers and positive numbers. And ideally, you will be able to work with these numbers faster. Okay, so I can give you things like, I don't know, -22 minus 8. You should be able to figure out the answer and do it correctly. You should be able to do, say, 8 minus 11. And if I ask you what is the answer, you should be able to do it quickly and give me the answer. All right, but I still want to see problem, method, answer. I don't want to see 1A, -3. Okay, that doesn't tell me much about you. I don't know your thinking. I don't know how you're going to do it. And especially when we get to more complicated questions, that's where it falls. Okay, so I don't want to see that type. I do want to see question, method, answer. So far, so good? All right, so it's currently 2:40. I'm going to give you, say, 15 minutes to 20 minutes to have a go with exercise 1E. So you're going to open up your textbook, go to 1E, and the questions for you, remember the 3 columns? You got your 3 columns there? Yeah, the sheet of paper is the same thing. Oh, what do you mean? Oh, those are notes. We'll cover the next bit tomorrow because we've got 1F with me tomorrow as well. Okay? So I want you to now work in 1E so that way there's less work for you to do tomorrow. If you do it most of it now, you'll have most of the questions done. So first column is for fluency. For those who struggle with memorizing, like your times tables, formulas, and rules, you spend your time more on the first column. If your fluency is not too bad, like you're not the best at times tables, but you're not also the worst, you can do fluency plus problem solving. There's a bit of a nice mixture between the two, so you start from the center. Or if you're pretty good already, your times table, factors, multiples, and all that's pretty strong, then I want you to spend more time in problem solving, reasoning, and enrichment. There'll be less fluency. Much less fluency. So if you have a look at the third column, they do less fluency, more problem solving, more reasoning, and they definitely do enrichment. That's the difference between the 3 columns. So I want you to work on where you think you sit for this topic. Obviously, each exercise you could feel more confident or less confident. You pick your level. Okay? Yeah, so on your sheet, you should have the set questions. So say you picked this set of questions, you'll be doing question 2 to 6, and you pick half of them. Okay, so question 2, instead of doing A, B, C, there's no point doing the same ones. You want to do different ones that challenge you. Because the more skills you show me, the more I'm confident you know those skills. If you only did the first 3, it doesn't tell me anything about you besides the fact that you know how to do negative number plus a number. You know, so the more different variety of problems you do, the more confident I am about your skills. It's all about showing me what you know. So obviously, if you're really strong at maths, don't do lots of fluency. Spend more time problem solving, reasoning, and enrichment. Show me those steps. That's what I'm looking for. Obviously, if you're wanting to improve on your fluency, practice more fluency. Do more questions than what I suggested. Yeah.
So if you want to do like the hardest one, you just skip the first 2.
Yeah, so then if you start on this one, you do question 2, 3, but you don't do a quarter of them.
No, but like, do you have to do the other? Do you have to do fluency?
This one does have fluency.
Oh.
Yeah. So in this one, they do less. So 2 to 3, question 2 and 3 is in fluency.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they do less of it. Whereas these groups, these guys do a bit of half. These guys do more fluency. So you see they do question 1, but this group doesn't do question 1. This group does up to 6. This group only does up to 5. So they practice more of the easier questions and less of the harder questions. You know what I mean? So when you get to problem solving, again, same thing. You got that smaller group who does less problem solving. This group does 1 extra question compared to this group. And this group does the harder questions. They do 8, 9, 10. And then when you go to reasoning, that group only does 1. This group does 2. And this group does all. And then in this one, the first 2 groups don't do enrichment. but the third group does. See that? So that's why the questions are split up depending on how confident you are. At bare minimum, in terms of Australian Victorian curriculum, you need to do fluency. So at the very minimum, from here to here, I should be able to see your fluency skills, no matter which column you choose. Problem solving, it depends on how good you are from there. Okay, but fluency is like a bare minimum for everyone, doesn't matter which column you pick. So half means like you choose half, instead of doing A to I, that's just repetition. It doesn't show me depth of understanding. So I want you to do half. If it says half, you pick like 1, 2, 3 by 4, so there's 12 in there. Pick any 6. But I don't want you to just pick any first top 6, because then you're missing out on the harder numbers. Get me? So it's better if you picked a variety that is still 6 questions. If it says a quarter, then you do a fourth of the list. Does that make sense?